Hello everybody, this is Comediac. Welcome back to Mask of the Rose. They did recently put out an update for the game that basically doubles the amount of time you have in the season of Confessions and Yule. We've already gone through all of Confessions, so this playthrough is not going to be showing that, but we are at the very beginning of Yule, so that should work. They did say that saves should not be affected by it, like is it not unplayable at any rate? We'll find out. Let's just get back in here. And let's go ahead and recall the past. Learn some more about his memories. Let's see. Theophilus and Horatio had their differences back then. Let's look into that one. Someone had come to ask Archie about the Christmas services. Theophilus? Theophilus? May I rely on you, then, to read the second lesson? Ugh, if I must, but... The sacrifice of Isaac? No, that is to say, yes, that's the right lesson, but he isn't sacrificed in the end, of course. That, naturally, was the miracle. Archer, he's a little less condescending now. Teresia, I recall best. Maybe February has softened him. I've always been more partial to the fourth lesson. Ah, but consider how the second lesson ends. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies. That's the verse I most dislike. Maybe he listened to her. Ah, I see. Give me a prophecy of peace rather than a prophecy of dominion. It's Archie who's to read it out. Don't see how that really changes anything, but okay. Also, as he build a story, I think I've already got... Yeah, there's too many unknowns in that one. But I do have several prepared. Pushing a motive. Question of heirs, lovers, method, and identity. Okay. Let's see how to proceed on this one. See whether Ivory can help with David Landau's difficult memory. No. Milton probably could, but not doing that right now. Oh, wait a minute. Is this? Oh, theories of ministry misbehavior. Okay. Okay. Anything at the board? No. None of this has given me the option for further investigating the murder, so maybe we need to do some more things, get some new things to fill in those slots. So in the meantime, let's pursue this difficult memory thing with Milton. You return, I see. To what do I owe the irritation? That's not about helping David forget. Is it possible to make people forget things here in the Neath? It is possible. Those who have lived longer in the Neath have cultivated many shades of oblivion. But I cannot recommend it. How do you hope to grow a soul if the exquisite torments are flushed away? Nah, there's nothing to learn with this devil. Please hide nothing from me. I am consumed with curiosity. What is the nature of your work here? I am a gentleman of leisure, though I have devoted myself to cultivation of the arts. Until our next meeting, Morgan, we can exchange further tokens of distrust next time. Well, that didn't take long at all. Let's see. I wonder. Oh, yeah, Mr. Pages can help. Okay, he probably won't. He wants the story of all that. Now let's go talk to the priest here. Maybe that'll open up some more avenues to go through. Now I am here for the census officially, so get the badge on. Let's also get the hat of authority. It's the onlooker to wonder what senior naval personnel has to do with law-abiding citizens. Okay. St. Albans Proto-Martyr. This is the closest church to Horatius. He looks me over, and he does not see a parishioner. I see the masters are meddling with the affairs of the church. I suppose it was inevitable that they would turn their attention this way in time. It's bond over shared difficulty. Oregon. Theophilus Withernwick. It is a Yorkshire name. In the times before, I wouldn't have been so bold to speak to a stranger. Down here, it seems like any human companionship is welcome. The Ministry of Accounting and Recounting have asked me to work on the census. It's faintly mutinous. Okay, he doesn't like that then. A decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. Defiance or show the ministry's teeth or laugh. Yeah, let's just laugh. A little undertone of darkness. I suppose we still have a month and more before Advent. To assert myself. There's something I'd like to know. I require an answer. Doesn't look entirely encouraging. Do you live alone? I live alone in the rooms provided for the vicar of this parish. There is a woman who comes twice a week to clean, or there was. Her visits have been more erratic of late. She stole several spoons and a chafing dish from me. And my second best chasuble. Who knows what she thought to do with it? When I did not turn her off for dishonesty, she lost all respect for me. In retrospect, it was an error. I thought to show mercy. Now I sleep on damp sheets. There's no danger in these questions. Are you unmarried and unencumbered? No secret mistresses? I was married. The lady was 2 or 3 years older than myself. A very sensible and capable woman. Her name was Anne. What became of her? Anne Witherwick is no longer with you. It is a sad but not unusual tale. Let's not use any special clothing. Let's just stand closer and ask. And I thought you were getting to trust me. We are commanded to be wise as serpents. I'll keep my own counsel, thank you. Yeah, fair. What? Yeah, let's talk about that now. It sees us. Bat. That is far too large to be a bat. Make light of the danger or ask it whether it visits often. Let's make light of the danger. It's much larger than the bats we had before. Possibly they're better fed down here. If you prevent my saying so, I don't find that a comforting observation. There are, I believe, some species of bat that eat fruit. But if that's what these lived on, they would be as hungry as the rest of us. It's landed there a few times before, especially when the choir is practicing. Perhaps it's drawn to the music. Could be it has a taste for a nice bit of singing. Just as well the opera has been suspended in that case. It might have carried off half of society by now. It's gone. The tender-ground synagogue's in better condition than our little church. I've wondered whether that signifies the direction of divine approval. What happened to the church roof? Ah, that. We must assume the fabric of the building sustained significant damage in the fall. The funny thing is, it held up for weeks, but shortly after Pentecost it all came down. I choose not to construe this as an intervention of the Holy Spirit. No risk of rain. Yeah, no one, at least no one was hurt. It's a good thing you weren't celebrating a service at the time. Or divinely providential. It was good of you to stop in. Lord see you safely home again. Clothes. Feared predators and fought a flying creature. I don't think that's going to be related to the murder in any way. At least not based on what I currently know. Ah, my friend, there's a newcomer to the house. Try not to assume the worst. You look solemn, Horatia. The last time was when you told us the supply of cheese had run out. I know we've had a happy little group here, but the time had come. I've taken in a new lodger. I am doing my best to get Archie sent home. You haven't yet, and we don't know how long it will take. No, but I don't think it's time to give up and move on. Now, let's ask about the lodger. What sort of lodger? A man, more or less, from overseas. Do you mean he came down the canal, from the surface? No, he originates here below, I think. You should also know he's a clay man, he calls it. Looks like a statue, but he's polite. And clothed, before you get any notions. Yeah, accepted at face value. Even if he's the most well-behaved statue you've ever met. It's a risk, it will draw attention, and I don't see the need. Everything we do reflects on Archie now. I need someone who can do for me outside the house. Or hadn't you noticed I can't go outside anymore? That is, I know you don't go out much. I suppose the last time I saw you go out was to the graveyard. I don't anymore. I do not step through our front door. But the trade is, I can promise you, our new lodger won't do anything I don't know about. Forgive my clumsy interpolation of your domestic idyll. I wish to make myself known to you. I am. He makes a noise like rain running down limestone. I believe the best translation is moss. I hope to learn more about this new city. It is very different from my native Polythreme. What is Polythreme like, Mr. Moss? It is an island far across the sea. Everything has a voice there. My king, he of 100 hearts, reigns over us all. It is often harmonious. There is very little screaming. Silence is the same as peace. But I'll take your word on it for the moment. I hope you'll find rest here. If rest is indeed all Mr. Moss is looking for. First to be a help, defuse the situation, comment admiringly on his form. Angled to impress Moss with lies. Yeah, let's go for the joke. Will you be wanting the slate off the roof for your lunches? Oh, that's not a joke, that's just racist. No, indeed, shale is a most dissatisfying delicacy. In truth, I have no need to eat, though I am happy to watch all of you do so. At least he took it in stride. I like him so far. What motivates a clayman to reside in a boarding house in the first instance? I assume you neither eat nor sleep. The accommodations would seem to be of little value to you. Griselda! No, it is an honest question. This seems a happy place. Makes it sound like water flowing through the spout of a gargoyle. Oh, I was not made for deceit. The king did not fashion these lips for lies. I sought the man in the previous city. I did not find him. I believe he was at odds with the Khans. The who? I have heard they call themselves masters now. They style themselves after their latest acquisition. But the man is gone, and everything has changed. I hope to find my place and my purpose once more. Let's be charitable. Perhaps we should let Mr. Moss settle in before we bombard him with questions. Quite right. I am glad someone retains a sense of manners. In Polythreme, we are always in union. A polyphony makes a pleasant change. I was looking for someone in the last city. Yours falling came as a surprise. There, you see, Mr. Moss requires his rest. I have no wish to be a burden. In Polythreme, what the king wishes to occur, occurs. But there are 3 of you. I will wait for you to reach an accord. I require respite rather than shelter. It will not be an undue inconvenience if I am better to look elsewhere. And he is meant to keep us safe, is he? If I were a housebreaker, I'd give him a wide berth. Besides, Harjeet said he considered his obligation to help Mr. Moss find a home. That it was a good deed to place him here. If Harjeet thinks the deed makes up for arresting Archie, I have some questions about the moral accounting. Not everyone tallies their good and bad deeds in a double-entry ledger book, Lady Griselda. Whatever the Ministry may have told you. But he's right. If we're all to rub along here, you all need to be comfortable with our new lodger. You live here just as much as I do. I think you're likely to be outvoted, Horatio. No, you're not. No one has a better heart than you. But we must think of Archie. We court suspicion and perhaps the Master's anger. If Archie were here, I'd say different. I think we have room for one more. I shall go and tell Mr. Moss the good news, and let him know he has you to thank. On your heads be it if this goes awry. But I'll do what I can to smooth things over if the Ministry involves itself. So, Moss and the King. Now, there was apparently a clayman in David's grave. At least I assume it was. Mentioned the sigil and all that, but I don't think either of them had much to do with it. A shape coalesces in the attic. Or more accurately, looms. Oh. I'm sorry if I startled you. I hoped we might become better acquainted. And I have several questions regarding my tenancy here. I would have asked the others, but Mrs. Chapman was dozing and Miss Smith told me she was engaged in important business. I did not realize business constituted the imbibing of wine. I have much to learn. Do let me know when I make an error of etiquette. I am sure there shall be many. I live for surprise guests. Oh dear. I hope you are not regularly interrupted. I am always available if required. I've noticed Londoners are averse to poor behavior when I am present. I cannot think why. I'm afraid I did have a question. In Polythreme, our king rang a hollow bronze chime to summon us when required. His favored servants all bear his own image, so both our station and our duties are clear to all. I'm afraid I find the etiquette here more confusing. I hoped you could explain my duties as a lodger in Mrs. Chapman's guest house. Horatio does need some errands done. Mrs. Chapman does not leave the house. If you can serve her as her messenger outside, that would assist her. I had noted her affinity with the building. It is a relationship I have not observed in Polythreme. But all the same, more like home than most things in Londinium. This seemed in line with my expectations. I had one last question, forgive me. But I wondered your thoughts on my behavior thus far. I hoped to be well liked here if you could advise me. Eh. Laugh as if it were a joke, sure. I chuckle, as though it were a clever joke even to ask. I see I have offended. Forgive my intrusion, I have much yet to learn. Makes a noise like a pebble falling into a well. Good night, as they seem to say here. A phrasing that confuses me. 'Tis always night here. Okay, yeah, not much happened here, but we did meet someone new, so let's see if we can get his name. Relationship flirt. Okay. Not. That's an interesting way to take that, I guess. And yeah, that's pretty much all we know on him right now. But anything else? Did anything change with Grizz? Rather prickly. Less reserved than usual, less reserved than usual, less reserved than usual. So there's a lot of less reserved than usual. I think you might need to rethink what her usual is at this point. It seems to be a daily occurrence at this point. "12 days remain in the season of Yule." So yes, it did in fact apply. I have twice as much time as I would have before. That's a nice update. As usual, I resort to the morning papers. The headlines today read: Jovial master of debate offers vigorous contradiction on matters of theology, philosophy, botany, biology, economy, theosophy, and natural law. Any stance gladly adopted, services reasonably priced, engage now to argue against your fears of coming apocalypse. That sounds like it could be fun. I want to go to that. I don't think the game will actually have me going there. These headlines are usually just conversation topics for when you meet people for the first time today. Let's recall the past. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. Rachel said something curious the day David returned. Yes, please. More information regarding that might be related to the murder. Give me some phrases and stuff to put into these stories. Need to figure some stuff out. Get some more options going. We were leaving the graveyard the day of David's return. But of course we didn't know yet that he was coming back. Horatio went home rather than coming onward to the Landaus with us. It's hard work grieving by yourself. We are meant to have relatives around. We are meant to trade stories of the dead. But part of our family was left on the surface, and part was lost in the fall. Part doesn't speak to us since Mother married beneath her, and part doesn't speak to us since we changed synagogues. And part doesn't speak to us because they don't like what I write in the Lily of London. It's very fractionated, our support. Almost entirely gone. I suppose I'll end by writing him into my stories even more than he was before. He would have hated that. But I don't know a better way to do the work that has to be done. Okay, so yeah, nothing new. Again, I don't suppose any of what I've picked up so far will be available here. Yeah, no, I don't even have the King or Moss available there. What about under Motivator? No. Any new actions? Hmm. I wonder. Into adulterous letters. Here we go. Let's try this then. So, carrying him sent passionate letters to attract his attention. David began planning a journey back to the surface. Again, probably not, but... Again, that inheritance is kind of my most likely explanation here. So some surface dweller. Hope for wealth. And did something unknown. But that's not, there's no unknown action available. I don't think any of these really work. Like, a surface dweller begged passage to the surface. Makes no sense. Ask David to stay below. We have no proof of that. Confided about a fair... Again, nothing... Told him inheritance, maybe? Sent word of David inheritance. David began planning... Okay, so yes, I think that did actually happen. Surface-dwelling relative of the Landows wanted David not to inherit. So, yeah, so one of their surface-dwelling relatives told him of the inheritance. Another one sent a letter with David with a deadly toxin? I mean, it makes sense. If you think of it as two separate surface dwellers. Again, I think this is my best explanation at the moment. Let's head outside. Present my theory of the murder to Harji. That's possible. Yep, that is an option. What else do we have? Census with Moss in the boarding house. Interrogate Rachel about David's possible heirs. Interview about possible poison post. Oh, is it because I cleared everything out? So, that was stupid of me, apparently. Milton would not know about David's heirs. Okay. Interview Archie on the notion of he would know if poisoning by mail is possible, so that might be an option. But I think my first thing should be to interview Phoebe about possible poison post. She would be the one who handled the mail, so she might know. Yeah, that outfit is fine. Are you here to see me, then? I don't receive visitors as a rule. And if I did, they'd be meant to visit in the kitchen, I think. We'd better go for a walk if you want to talk with me. A walk to the graveyard? I started coming out here for walks while Mr. Landau was dead. Okay, that makes sense. Rachel said there was no point visiting the grave, but I liked it. Made me feel like I could talk to him. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. I don't think they'd want me to. David and Rachel, I mean. Is David answering your questions? He is. If he can stand it, I suppose I can. Did Mr. Landau receive any mail shortly before he died? There was one a few days before he died, but he did keep rereading it. Something about his inheritance up there. He was keen to get back above. Anything else? There was a note from Charlotte Carringham as well. The married lady that was in love with him. Lord, didn't she get a shock when he passed away. Came round the house in quite a state. Did you touch either of those letters? I Can't say I remember. I might have done if you left them on the table and I was putting them away. Did Rachel touch them? I doubt it. So it might have been only Mr. Landau that touched the letters. So far as I know. Let's look at the inheritance angle. Did David have anything of value to bequeath? Diamond mines that would have passed to a second cousin, shares in a surface railway. He's got no legitimate sons, if that's what you mean. A family like this one, you'd know if he did. I wonder whether I could ask a favor. But could I come with you to visit your friend Archibald? I'd like to know what to expect before the trial. Okay, sure. Lay it on me. Oh, we're just going there right now. Okay. I brought Phoebe with me. Why would you be here then, Miss Riley? They say you're meant to visit prisoners. It's a good work. Might be, if you came to bring him cheer. But if you're here to squawk about the wrong I did to Landau's, you don't think you could have done it by accident, then? Just a little mistake with the matter of the dosing? I've thought it over time and again, lass. Do you think you're the first to ask me? Guess at the intent. She is worried someone else did it. So she'd rather it was you, Archie, by mistake if need be. I'm only trying to understand what happened, same as the rest of you. I've been thinking all this was to get me out of London. Someone killed David in order to get you out of the way. They did like to give themselves a long way round, didn't they? Aye, to hide their true intentions. Ah, you're as good as a play. You should come and see my mistress. She's always needing a plot, and the stranger the better. Well, let me double check. Okay. I mean, because I do remember they mentioned his cousin was upset about David inheriting, so that cousin would definitely have wanted David to stay down or die. So, yes, I think envenom post, but a few days? Would the poison be that slow? I suppose it depends on the poison. I think I need to ask more about the envenomed post idea before I can really feel comfortable giving that to Harjeet immediately. Again, Archie would probably know a poison that takes a while. Who else can I ask about things? No. Ivy about David's... Why would Ivy know about David's heirs? Rachel would know. Yeah, let's talk to Rachel about the heirs. Maybe she can give me something new to put in here. You have a visitor. Good to see you. I pause and look in Phoebe's direction. Oh, yeah, let's bring up a recent memory. I mean, hey, I can use it. That's interesting. I'm thinking about what you said to me when we were walking back from the graveyard before we found David alive. About grief being work for more than one person. There are ways and ways of sharing it out. What are your origins? What sort of people do you come from? I can guess a few things from your clothes and your voice, but there are contradictions. Well, if I had come in with my dock worker shirt, I could have actually given her something, but, suppose about difficult childhood, sure. I sketch in a little of my family history, the shabby housing of my birth, my father and uncle working at the docks, the smells and sounds that surround me growing up. I pepper the story with the most outrageous and silly of events, with special attention to the accidental near drowning of an imported elephant. Huh. Don't let it go to your head, but I find you impressive. It will pass, don't worry. Seems I have passed some test. Awesome. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. Is David answering your questions? He is. If he can stand it, I suppose I can. You were here the night David returned, so I guess if I didn't ask David, or if I did convince him to tell me, these guys too would have clammed up as well. That's interesting. So you recall what happened on the day? Let's see, let's get her details. If you could tell me again. David stayed in bed all day. Ivy Fitzclarray had come to make over some of my gowns. That was in the morning. A little later, Mr. Reed came to see David. While he was here, well, I don't remember the exact order, but Milton also paid a call. We didn't speak long. I was preoccupied, and I thought his visit was untimely. After everyone had gone, David took ill. We could hear the noises from a distance. It was violent, horrible. When I reached him, he was still alive for a few minutes, but he was already passing. Then everything happened quickly. He was dead. The magistrate called. Do you know what an inquest is like? No. I didn't know, and now I can't let it go. It had to be held right away, immediately when David died. It had to be done and finished so we could bury him. So it was the coroner and a random 12 men he found willing, presiding in the upper room at the Rising Sun. We carried up David's body and put it on a table after we'd cleaned it as well as we could. He'd been sick a few times while he was dying. But we did what we could, and the gin fumes covered the smell, I imagine. At least for the members of the inquest jury. Yeah, I don't think morbid humor is right here. Let's sympathize. Rotten luck. I can only imagine how it must feel. Few flattering remarks to my better points. Then it was just me and Phoebe, the only witnesses, being interrogated by the lot of these men, who were not sober, not sensible, and not of our beliefs. Phoebe stood by me and held my hand, and for that I will be grateful to her until the day I die. They wanted to perform an autopsy on David. It wouldn't have been more than a butchery. To look for poisons inside him. I'm glad to have my brother back, but it seems we went through all that for nothing. And that makes me angry in its own way. The end of it was that they wrote out a warrant for Archie's arrest, and I've never been more grateful for a thing to be over. Value of it for a writer? I mean, yeah, maybe. It's over now, and you saw something most writers would not. It's not a story for the Lily of London. I couldn't watch that scene from a distance. I just had to stand there in the middle of it and wait for it to end. I imagine this question won't worry you overly. I suppose you must have inherited David's wealth. Was there anyone else to benefit? David only has his possessions here. What belongs to him on the surface, or belonged to him, he can't reach now. I am his only heir of consequence, and I had no reason of that money and no reason to kill for it. I already live in his house. I would hardly be more comfortable if I owned it entirely. You find me at a difficult time. Oh? My publisher writes to say that if I do not produce chapters more quickly, I will be replaced. He'll hire someone to complete the novel according to his best sense of its current trajectory. His. And you know who it is my publisher thinks to assign? Mr. Huffam. A man and a Christian, of course. He'll cram the story full of orphans and moral improvements. But my publisher says Mr. Huffman is reliably timely in the production of new pages. Whatever one says, he cannot be faulted for speed. I place no hope whatever in his being to in his bleh, let me just start that over. I place no hope whatever in his being able to render my characters, however. I wouldn't put it past him to make my heroine convert. If you can find it in you to speed along your ideas, I would be immensely grateful. And believe me, I do know how much I am asking. The wellspring is dry, and I meant to have a gift for this. Let's offer my happy plot. I lay out the plot as I've arranged it, especially the neat conclusion. This ends very cheerfully. Yes. I need to write more chapters that will require some source of difficulty. We begin in one predicament and we end in another. You left out the second predicament. You've brought the story to a standing stop. Yeah, I'll create something else. I understand. I'll find another ending for you. Thank you. I know the requirements of the author may seem odd to the lay person, but if I sit down to write and don't have suitable incidents in mind, nothing will go right. The characters will talk themselves in circles. Let's talk about your again. Not flirting. She's still. Well, is she? Let's see. Did this update? Yes, I don't think she's in the right mood. Rachel falls into telling me stories of Milton's salon. And it's attended mostly by writers and poets, especially daring poets will sometimes attempt a reading, but Milton's side commentary has proven a deterrent to the softer-bellied. He has no patience with work that's made to pattern. If it's a story about the uncomplaining suffering of wives, servants, children, or dogs, there is also a strict rule against paeans to the faithfulness of Penelope or Ruth or the Virgin Mary. If anyone dares say anything like that, he quips it out of existence. She goes on for some time, introducing me in turn to all the characters of that world, highborn or not. I should be elsewhere. My publisher will be sending around a messenger at any moment. Look after yourself, citizen. Yeah, let's just... Sure, whatever. Let's just get in there. And almost time to eat. Just go straight to the table. I don't want them. He's trying to be kind. They are an abomination unto the Lord. And more importantly, an abomination unto me. Can't you make her see sense? Our new lodger's making horrid dolls for reasons best known to himself. Clay versions of us. Please make him stop doing it. Grace is far preferable to her doll. We have more serious concerns. Hmm. Yeah, let's do that. It is a poor imitation. That is not the point, though it is. Poor Mr. Moss went to so much trouble. I think he means to make an army. They're not like him. They don't move. Yet. Moss is surrounded by a profusion of little clay men. Oh, I'm sorry, yours is not ready. Insinuate his doll is a love gift. No, let's not pretend to be. Let's just gasp. Several defective grizzes lie discarded, their expressions variously contemptuous or angry. Her hair, too, appears to have been a point of difficulty. There is something chilling about the collection. I remember my king and his marble palace, his garden of statues, all made in his image. I thought the other residents here would appreciate a similar gesture. Less unsettling, more advise him to continue. I'm not going to tell him to stop. It's nice. Let's go for less unsettling. They could be a little less lifelike. That is their genius. But you know the others better. I will take advisement. Yeah, like I'm cool with it being lifelike, but the others, not so much. Not so much at all. And nothing new there.